Brought to you by the Dark Lord himself, Queasy Ali. Nations don't collapse all at once. They unravel layer by layer, through corruption, conflict, disaster, poverty, weak institutions, and leadership that fails long before the people do. The final collapse always looks sudden, but the truth is it begins years before anyone notices. When a country finally falls, it leaves behind more than broken buildings. It leaves behind broken trust, hollowed institutions, abandoned communities, and generations of people who never got the systems they deserved. For generations, the world tried the same response every time. Military intervention. Temporary aid. Foreign advisors who stay 6 months and leave. Billions spent with nothing permanent built. And every time the world pulls out too soon, the collapse returns even worse. Afghanistan collapsed within 11 days of withdrawal. 11 days. 20 years of effort disappeared because the world rebuilt the military but never rebuilt the system behind it. Libya disintegrated the moment NATO left. Without training, structure, or real institutions, the country fell into a power vacuum that turned North Africa into a trafficking hub and destabilized an entire region. Haiti collapsed repeatedly, after earthquakes, hurricanes, dictatorships, and corruption, because nobody ever rebuilt the systems that allow a nation to function: justice, energy, food, communication, transportation, governance. Syria spiraled into the worst humanitarian crisis of the century. Millions fled not because they wanted to, but because the country's institutions evaporated and left nothing to survive inside. Venezuela's economic freefall showed what happens when resource wealth is mismanaged and accountability dies. A country that once had the highest standard of living in South America collapsed into shortages, hunger, and mass migration. Somalia is an example of decades of instability when a nation's justice system, food system, and governance structure all fail simultaneously. Without structure, no amount of foreign troops could stabilize it. Ukraine, even after the war ends, will face the largest reconstruction challenge in modern history, a chance to rebuild systems stronger than before, but only if the world has a model to guide it. And inside America itself, the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina revealed how quickly even a wealthy nation can crumble when its local systems fail: schools flooded, hospitals overwhelmed, supply chains frozen, and law enforcement stretched past its limits. Different crises. Different causes. Different outcomes. But the same missing ingredient: a structured, full-spectrum, nation rehabilitation model. That missing model is what country Rehab is designed to become. A blueprint for stabilizing nations without force, without occupation, and without repeating the mistakes of the past. At the center of country Rehab is the JEDI core, Justice and Economical Development Integration. Or simply, JEDI. A system built to rebuild nations the way great architects rebuild cities, from the foundation up. JEDI is not an army. Not a political takeover. Not foreign control. It is a civilian-led, multi-division mentorship force that exists to repair systems, train local leadership, and help nations stand on their own again. Instead of soldiers, JEDI sends specialists. Engineers, teachers, emergency responders, agricultural experts, financial architects, healthcare trainers, justice advisors, communication planners, energy system designers, and when necessary, peacekeepers. Each expert pairs with a local counterpart. One mentor per role. One division per system. A full national structure rebuilt through shadowing, training, and partnership, not domination. The nation selects JEDI voluntarily. There is no coercion. No imposition. No interference with cultural identity. It is a partnership for rebuilding, not a takeover disguised as help. The process begins with Phase 1, stabilization. This is where the bleeding stops. Emergency services restored. Hospitals supplied. Transportation restarted. Food distribution reorganized. Electricity repaired. Order restored. Stabilization prevents collapse from spreading. It gives families safety. It gives the government breathing room. It gives the nation a moment to reset. Then comes Phase 2, reconstruction. Every ministry receives a JEDI mentor. Every department is evaluated. Processes rebuilt. Corruption removed. Systems modernized. Tools provided. Training continuous. Reconstruction creates transparency, predictability, and trust, 3 ingredients no nation can survive without. Then comes Phase 3, economic ignition. Infrastructure grows. Agriculture modernizes. Trade routes reconnect. Foreign investment enters. Industries open. Workers get training. The nation transitions from survival to momentum. Economic ignition shows people hope for the first time in years. Jobs return. Schools reopen. Stability becomes visible in daily life. Families realize the country isn't dying, it's rebuilding. Finally comes Phase 4, independence. Jedi steps back, shifting from embedded partners to advisory allies. The nation operates independently, but with long-term support available when needed. This is also the phase where a nation unlocks path choices based on its own democratic vote. Remain fully sovereign. Form a permanent alliance with Jedi. Enter the framework as a junior state. Or, if the people choose, begin the long process of joining the United States as a full state. None of these options are required. The power stays with the people. The choice belongs to the nation, not Jedi. And for nations that choose partnership, long-term peacekeeping is provided by the Guardian Initiative, the domestic accountability force model we already explained in a separate video. If you want the full breakdown of how it works, that video is already on the channel. The Guardian Initiative becomes the peacekeeping backbone of Jedi, not soldiers, but professionally trained guardians focused on stability, transparency, and protection. This combined system gives Jedi the tools to help every type of crisis on Earth. If corruption destroyed a government, Jedi restores justice. If war destroyed infrastructure, Jedi rebuilds it. If natural disasters overwhelm a region, Jedi reinforces emergency systems. If poverty collapses an economy, Jedi modernizes it. If extremism fills a power vacuum, Jedi closes it through stability, not force. In Afghanistan, Jedi would have built systems behind the military, education, justice, agriculture, civilian leadership, preventing the 11-day collapse. In Libya, Jedi would have prevented factional chaos by establishing governance structures the moment the dictatorship fell, avoiding a decade of war and trafficking. In Haiti, Jedi would have built permanent emergency systems, energy infrastructure, and modern governance instead of patchwork temporary fixes after every disaster. In Syria, Jedi would have rebuilt aid corridors, communications, and institutions that collapsed early in the war, preventing millions from fleeing into instability. In Venezuela, Jedi would have implemented financial safeguards, resource management systems, and transparent food distribution, halting collapse before millions starved or migrated. In Somalia and Sudan, Jedi would have restored justice systems and agricultural stability, giving communities alternatives to extremism and piracy. In Ukraine, Jedi becomes the blueprint for rebuilding the nation after war, restoring infrastructure, institutions, and economic growth with modern systems. And in the US itself, the concept would strengthen regions like New Orleans during Katrina, showing that even wealthy nations need structured systems to prevent collapse. Every example proves the same truth. Collapse is predictable. Collapse is preventable. Collapse is reversible. But only if the world finally adopts a model that addresses root causes instead of applying temporary patches. Country rehab is not a fantasy. It is architecture, political, economic, humanitarian, and structural architecture built to repair what the world has allowed to rot. The Jedi Core is not a dream. It is a blueprint, one designed to help nations rise, not through force, but through knowledge, mentorship, and sustainable systems. This idea has the power to reduce war, reduce migration, reduce corruption, reduce poverty, and repeated collapses, and stabilize regions before they become global crises. Humanity has tried war. It has tried sanctions. It has tried temporary aid. None of it works long term. It's time to try structure. Stability. Accountability. Education. Justice. Economic development. Integration. This is how you fix nations. This is how you restore dignity. This is how you prevent collapse before it spreads. This is how we build a safer, stronger world for the next generation. This is country rehab. This is Jedi. This is the blueprint to rebuild the world, system by system, nation by nation, life by life. Kwesi Ali, the man, the myth, the legend. The icon aka the Dark Lord. Hashtag Revolution 2025 Hashtag Chaos Rising 2025 Hashtag Southpaw Rebellion 2025 Hashtag Country Rehab Hashtag Jedi Corps Hashtag Rebuild the World.